Okay. So do let me know if you able to see my screen. Okay, this is the one we have to share. So, Mataji, what we do is we read few verses from the chapter. Ideally, all the verses from the chapter, but if the chapter is big, then we will just kind of um, split it into parts and then read through that and then understand it further from Prabhupada per parts. Yeah. So let's begin.
Can I ask you, because I can see the others, because some speakers, they like if they see the faces, so I don't know if I should put the camera away.
No, that's
or...
fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Whichever is, yeah, both are fine. On or off. So mainly we will be seeing this. So let me know if you are able to see the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
Okay. Maybe, yeah, Suritesh Prabhu, would you please read maybe till verse 17?
Yes, Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 28. Pranjana becomes a woman in the next life. The great sage Narada continued, My dear king Prachina Bharhisat, after the king of the Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajvara, Kalakanya, and his soldiers began to travel all over the world. Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjana with great force. Although the city was full of paraphernalia of sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. Gradually, Kalakanya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjana's city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. When Kalakanya, the daughter of time, attacked the body, the dangerous soldiers of the king of the Yavanas entered the city through different gates. They then began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. When the city was thus endangered by the soldiers and Kalakanya, King Puranjana, being overly absorbed in the affection for his family, was placed in difficulty by attack of Yavana Raja and Kalakanya. When King Puranjana was embraced by Kalakanya, he gradually lost all his beauty. Having been too much addicted to sex, he became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Being bereft of all possessions, he was conquered forcibly by the Gandharvas and Yavanas. King Puranjana then saw that everything in his town was scattered and that his sons, grandsons, servants, and ministers were all gradually opposing him. He also noted that his wife was becoming cold and indifferent. When King Puranjana saw that all his family members, relatives, followers, servants, secretaries, and everyone else was turned against him, he certainly became very anxious. But he could not counteract the situation because he was thoroughly overwhelmed by Kalakanya. The objects of enjoyment became stale by the influence of Kalakanya. Due to the continuance of his lusty desires, King Puranjana became very poor in everything. Thus, he did not understand the aim of life. He was very still affection. He was still very affectionate towards his wife and children, and he worried about maintaining them. The city of King Puranjana was overcome by the Gandharva and Yavana soldiers, and although the king had no desire to leave the city, he was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalkanya. Under the circumstances, the elder brother of Yavana Raja, known as Prajvara, set fire to the city to please his younger brother, whose other name is fear itself. When the city was set ablaze, all the citizens and servants of the king, as well as family members, sons, grandsons, wives, and other relatives, were within the fire. King Puranjana thus became very unhappy. The city's superintendent of police, the serpent, saw that the citizens were being attacked by Kalakanya, and he became very grieved to see his own residence set ablaze after being attacked by Yavanas. As a serpent living within the cavity of tree wishes to leave when there is a forest fire, so the city's police superintendent, the snake, wished to leave the city due to fire's severe heat. The limbs of serpent's body were slackened by Gandharvas and Yavana soldiers, who had thoroughly defeated his bodily strength. When he attempted to leave the body, he checked he was checked by his enemies. Being thus baffled in his attempt, he began to cry loudly. King Puranjana then began to think of his daughters, sons, grandsons, daughter-in-law, sons-in-law, servants, and other associates, as well as his house, his household paraphernalia, and his little accumulation of wealth. King Puranjana was overly attached to his family and conceptions of I and mine. Because he was overly attracted to his wife, he was already quite poverty stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sad. Shall I stop here, Prabhuji?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritcham Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudhirayet. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So, yeah, just to kind of go back to the background of this wonderful chapter, usually in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we hear that there are wonderful stories about the Lord. You know, when we talk about maybe as Varahadev, as Trivikram Dev, as Ramachandra, as Krishna, we see a lot of wonderful pastimes of the Lord. And then there are also wonderful pastimes about the devotees of the Lord. Yeah, there are devotees such as Ambarish Maharaj, there is a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj, there is devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, there is about Vidura. There are so many great, wonderful personalities, even Lord Yamaraj. Yeah. So, and here comes a very important part of Bhagavatam, yeah, which is also, though we don't see it's about a devotee, we are seeing it is spoken by a devotee. Who is speaking this? It is spoken by Narad Muni. To whom? To King Prachina Parishad. So the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam is that it is complete. It is going to cover us everything, right from the subject of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to even a fallen conditioned soul, like, yeah, let's say here, Prachina Barihishat, yeah, king who had wonderful sons who got blessed by Lord Shiva, to hear the Rudra Gita from him, to engage in devotional service. It was the father. Yeah. Sometimes this happens in our own life. We can see that there are sometimes the children are very advanced in devotional life. They are very, very conscious about spirituality, whereas the parents are quite occupied to maintain the household life, and they have no deep impression about the urgency to take up to devotional service, to spirituality, and they would say, yeah, is it really needed? I think my son is there. If he does, that's enough. Actually, I even don't like that my son does all these things, but okay, I can't force him, but at least don't force me to become a devotee. And in that way, so many, we can see a generation gap. Maybe if we see a Vedic way of living was there 100 years ago, life, maybe maintenance of household business, maintenance of my own desires, that becomes more dominant. And because now the facilities are there, let's say, for example, the world is advancing so much that whatever were difficulties, all the limitations we thought in the material life, these are no more there. So now we have the opportunity to enjoy material life to the best that ever the history of mankind would have seen. So that's why we are too much attached to all these kind of attractions, which are actually distractions. So Narad Muni, is visiting out of compassion this king, Prachina Parishat, who was so much enjoying the material life. He is enjoying committing a sinful life, and through the yajnas, to the sacrifices, he is purifying them. So in that way, he is quite occupied, that he is leading a very dharmic life, and he is thinking that's everything. Where King Narad Muni comes and he starts telling, King, I would like to tell you a story. Yeah, this story is about a king called Puranjan. So Narad Muni use a allegoric story of the life of King Prachina Barishat. Instead of saying, "Hey, you, the king, you have so many sons, grandsons," and instead he was giving a picture of some story through which he wanted to give a message, a very, very important message. And in that way, this is where we are hearing about how a king called Puranjan, who was looking for happiness all over, he could not find. He comes to a place in India, and in that he comes across a beautiful lady called Puranjani. Uh, and in that way, what he has done, and when he was not happy, that he went to the forest, he tried to enjoy outside the household life, by approaching, by killing, and afterwards he felt disgusted of his own lifestyle, uh, and because of illicit dealings. So all these things are narrated by Narad Muni, and comes the point that Puranjan, he enjoyed his life in his youth. Yeah, definitely he has enjoyed. This is what in the youth, Puranjani is distracting the Puranjan, the king, the who is enjoyer. He is being distracted because of what? So many attractions. As the youth passes and the old age picks up, then he is struggling. This is what last week we read about, the attack by Chandavega on the city of Puranjan, and the character of Kalakanya. Kalakanya is, Kala means time. Kalakanya is the daughter of time. Uh, Also, a representation or allegoric understanding of this is the old age. Old age kicks in. When the old age kicks in, all kinds of troubles, yeah, we come across, we see, and then there was this, how we are trying to maintain our uh, life air. What is this? Life air is that this is the air through which we are living. We are breathing, inhaling, exhaling, so that the soul and the body are intact. And this life air is fighting day and night. So 360 days, 360 nights, which is 720 soldiers of Chandavega, king, and then maintaining this body year after year. But what is happening is, yeah, it is being attacked. It's not like, okay, now the war is over, there's independence, there is freedom. No, we are not, because we are in this material world, and this material world will always keep us in its what do you call, influence. So here, Suryatesh Prabhu was reading this chapter, which is an extension, further understanding that Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Uh, but of course, we are going to focus on the first 17 verses of this, what Prabhupada has explained us in the purports, and take it from there. Yeah, if we finish them early, then we can move forward. Yeah, but the first one, Narada Uvacha, Sainika Bhaya Namno Ye, Barhishman Dishtakarina, Prajvara Kala Kanyabhyam, Vicharir Avanim Imam. So what is happening? Narad Muni continued telling to this king, Afterward, the king of Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajvara, Kalakanya, and his soldiers began to travel all over the world. So this means the the agents of time in the form of old age, in the form of disease, uh, in the form of Prajvara. So what happens is this starts spreading in our body. The king uh, has this fort, the city. In that city, what is happening? There are sometimes problems with our health, uh, and we get sick, we get old, all these things. So Prabhupada writes that the period of life just prior to death is certainly very dangerous, because usually at this time people are attacked by the weakness of old age, as well as many kinds of diseases. So many kinds of diseases which are compared to the soldiers of this time, of Chandavega. And then these soldiers are not ordinary soldiers, for they are guided by the king of Yavanas. So who is the king of Yavanas? It is none other than Yamaraj, uh, the Lord of Hell. He is the one who is sending the soldiers, preparing things, and then these soldiers are not ordinary. The word Dishta Karina indicates that he is their commander. When a man is young, he does not care for old age. Hmm. This is what happens, right? When man is young, if someone is telling about, you know what, you have to do, you have to save, the times will be tough when you get older. Focus on it from now. Yeah, come on. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Moksha is coming in the last. Let us not focus on that now. Young age is for enjoyment, sense enjoyment. That too, there is so much, so much. Yeah, the world is offering me so much. After all, that is the purpose of me coming here. And in that spirit, young, when a man is young, he does not care for old age, but enjoys sex to the best of his satisfaction, not knowing that at the end of life, his sexual indulgence will bring on various diseases, which so much disturb the body that one will pray for immediate death. This is the truth. This is the truth, that it is due to this overindulgence of sense enjoyment is the cause of our suffering, because we are, whatever the ambrosia, the life that we have, that we are spending, and yeah, not for helping us to work out for permanent solution, but rather we are using all so that our temporary issues are solved. If it is too cold, I will turn on heater, or the other way, yeah? Turn on a ventilator, yeah, or a fan, and so that I'm mitigating all my uh, so-called problems of this world with great interest. If I don't have a car, let me buy a car. If I don't have a house, let me buy a house. If I don't have that, this, after having all this, what is next? Huh? What is next? Luxuries. After luxuries, then is premium luxuries. So in that way, we are hunting behind things that can give us happiness. But what is also happening is, in this process, the more one enjoys sex during youth, the more he suffers in old age. How is this to be understood? Yeah, what is the relation between the sex life and suffering in the old age? Is, yeah, that the body, we see that by practicing celibacy, yeah, through this process, one is actually saving his life air, and what do you call this? Um, um, the potency, so that one can live a long life, and not only a long life but a very healthy life. And we can see that that is the power through which one can successfully navigate through the old age. But actually what we are doing is, yeah, we are thinking, hey, I don't care about that age. When that comes, we will see. Oh, so let me use everything now. Whatever little energy I have, whatever little prana is the life air, that I have, let me use everything now. And then due to which, what is happening? So many diseases come. Hmm. The disease could be physical diseases, could be psychological diseases, so many disturbances. All this come just because of enjoying the life in the youth. And the ekadatu rabhasa is saying, once the dangerous soldiers, Puranjana Purim Nripa, Rurudhur Bhauma Bhogadhyam Jarat Pannaga Palitam. So what happened is that once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjan with great force, although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by old serpent. What is happening? The young serpent, which is full of life, yeah, youth is full of life. But what happens is, as we get older, it becomes difficult. Yeah, though the body is there, the body is having, yeah, there is all the limbs are there. Legs can take you somewhere, the hands can work for you, eyes can see, ears can hear, all these things are there. But what is happening? It is being protected by old serpent, means old age. Old age, we know that, oh, we don't know when we may leave, but we know the time is near. So, as one's body engages in sense gratification, it becomes weaker and weaker daily. So, it is the sense gratification which makes the body weaker and weaker. So, Prabhupada says that what is the approach one should take up is that one should look for early retirement. Hmm? Otherwise, what happens? Finally, the vital force becomes so weak. Yeah, vital force. Yeah, prana. That's what I was thinking. Becomes uh, so weak that here it is compared to a weak serpent. The life air has already been compared to the serpent. When the vital force within the body becomes weak, the body itself also becomes weak. At such a time, the death symptoms, what are they? That is, the dangerous soldiers of death, superintendent Yamaraj, begin to attack very severely. So we might start looking for hospitals, we might start looking for some therapies so that we can get relief from old age or the suffering of old age. No, but the soldiers are so strong, so strong. Yeah, whether one is very rich, whether one is very um, expert to mitigate all the physical challenges, still they won't be able to, because the soldiers of Yamaraj are more strong. According to the Vedic system, before coming to such stage, one should leave home and take sannyas to preach the message of the God for the duration of life. However, if one sits at home and is served by his beloved wife and children, he certainly becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification. So this is our challenge. What is our challenge? That we are postponing and we are shifting. Ideally, what we should do now, we are thinking it, let's do tomorrow. And tomorrow is the one thing that is not going to come, because tomorrow is always tomorrow. And that's why we are not picking up good habits, and the time is passing day by day, and then we are not able to chase that tomorrow so that we can really live in today. So thus, at the end of the life, one worries about how. So this is what happens. If one is not serious now, then what happens is he thinks, okay, let me first solve my problems, man. My problem is that I have a family. I have to take care of my wife. I have to take care of children. Uh, then at the present time, even the oldest man in the family does not leave home, being attracted by wife, children, money, opulence, dwellings, etc. And at the end of life, one worries about how his wife will be protected and how she will manage the great family responsibilities. In this way, a man usually thinks of his wife before death. And you know what happens? Krishna says, Yam yam smaran bhavam tajantante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. What is happening? What is the state that we think at the last moment? That is the state what we will attain, isn't it? So at the end of life, a person thinks of what he has done throughout his whole life. Thus, he gets another body. Dehantara praptir, dhirasatra namohyati. Yeah? This is what Krishna says in the second chapter also. So, one overly addicted to life at home naturally thinks of his beloved wife at the end of life. Uh, and consequently, in the next life, he becomes the body, he gets the body of a woman. And he also acquires the results of his pious or impious activities. Uh, so, this chapter helps us what happens when one accepts a woman, acceptance of a woman's body by King Puranjan further, which means we are going to move on in this life to the next life. And what life we will get is dependent on what we are doing in this life. So if we are over attracted to the opposite sex, then what happens is the next life guaranteed that we are going to get that body. Hmm. Just like King Bharat Maharaj, he was so much attached to a deer, and then he became a deer in his next life. Hmm. And here, if a man is too much attached to the woman or the other way, then that's what will happen in the next life. Yeah, Prabhupada gives many times example that if one is attached to living a life of a what do you call it? In the mode of ignorance, then next life he may become a hog or a dog. So Kala Kanyapi Bhuje Puranjana Puram Balat Yayabi Bhuta Purah Sadhya Nihsarataram Iyat. So then now this Kalakanya who is nothing but Jara, the old age, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjan city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. What happens in the old age? We know what happens in the old age is that slowly, we may see that, hey, I have such a great memory. Now I'm not able to recollect as I was during uh, my youth, my young days. I'm forgetting. I don't even remember so much about my own self, my own family. So the memory is affected. Manda sumanda. Uh, Matayo, what is happening? Not only it's the effect of Kali Yuga. We may think, hey, it is because of Kali Yuga. No, it's not Kali Yuga. It is the old age. It is the old age which is kicking in. We should understand. Oh, my body, which was very tender and delicate, now it becomes quite fragile. Even if I lift a small weight, then my body starts paining. That is not because of Kali Yuga. That is because of old age. If I'm not able to see far, it is not that okay, the world is changing, but I am changing. So this is the understanding one should develop. Hmm. At the fang end of life, when the invalidity of old age attacks a man, his body becomes useless for all purposes. Therefore, Vedic training dictates that when a man is in his boyhood, he should be trained in the process of brahmacharya, celibacy. That is, he should be completely engaged in the service of Lord and should not in any ways associate with women. So we may think celibacy, did it right? No, brahmacharya. We may see brahmacharya means only celibacy. We may think, oh, not having contact with the opposite sex. No, brahmacharya is a process, achar. We are following or taking up a regime through which we can realize Brahman. We can appreciate the Brahman, the Supreme, that we understand that I am the soul. So in the quite early days of one's life, if one is trained, then what happens is he is not attached. When the boy becomes a young man, he marries between the age of 20 and 25. When he is married at the right age, he can immediately beget strong, healthy sons. Of course, there is further elaboration of Prabhupada is mentioning. If boy is strong, then he begets a son. If the girl is strong, then they beget a girl. This is what. So what is happening is, so a brahmachari, one who is following the proper lifestyle in the youth, yeah, he will be strong and then he can lead a life properly. The husband and wife may then, this is what happens at that time, one's child should be grown up. Okay, after the responsibility is over, the kids are settled, then the husband and wife may then go abroad to live a retired life and travel to different places of pilgrimage. Here abroad doesn't mean that one goes to Atlanta or or Iceland or Norway or Australia. Go. If someone is in the east, they want to go to the west, and if someone is in the west, they want to go east. No, abroad here means that leaving home. Hmm. Because we are so much accustomed to the comforts of our home. So abroad means to really get out of such comfort zone to lead a life uh, depending on in the in whatever way it comes uh, by the Lord arrangement. When both husband and wife lose their attachment for family and home, the wife returns home to live under the care of her grown-up children and to remain aloof from the family affairs. The husband then takes sannyas to render some service to the Supreme Lord. So this is what Varnashram system, how it can be practically applied. This is the perfect system of civilization. Human form of life is especially meant for God realization. If one is not, well, if one is unable to take to this process of Krishna consciousness from very beginning of life, he must be trained to accept these principles at the fang end of life. Unfortunately, there is no training even in childhood, nor can one give up his family life even at the end when there is no training. This is the situation with the city of Puranjan, figuratively described in these verses. And then further, when Kalaganya, the daughter of time, attacked the body, when the time, which means the death, is approaching, the dangerous soldiers of King Yavana entered the city through different gates. Then they began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. Citizens means this body, this city. The body has 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, mouth, rectum, and genitals. When one is harassed by the invalidity of old age, when the old age is coming, then various diseases manifest at the gates of the body. We know what happens. There is sometimes, as the old age comes, there is cataract. As the old age comes, people cannot hear so much, not because by then the capacities are reducing. And then so dim, the eyes cannot see that far. We need special arrangement like, lens or spectacles. And the ears become weak. So we need this hearing aids. Then the nostrils are blocked by mucus. Then there is this ammonia. People puff it so that they can get the nose freed up. Mouth, we know as the teeth fall, then it becomes difficult to chew. So all this, so then people will use some arrangement like, what is it called? False teeth. Now we can go to a dentist. Is it a problem? No problem, right? If you go, there is hearing aid you can put, there is specs that can improve your vision. Okay, we have handled that so far. But about after we eat something that we can't digest, because the digestive power also in the old age, what happens is that also comes down. We may not be able to digest everything, but the taste has not gone, the desire has not gone, because of which we still want to enjoy. With the eyes we want to enjoy, with ears we want to enjoy, with mouth we want to enjoy, but the body inside is not ready, because this is what Kalakanya, the daughter of time, she's approaching. Hey man, wake up. Similarly, this is what happens. And then one may say, hey, no, come on, we have advanced also quite a bit, right? It's not only that we are solving the problems, superficial problems, but we are also solving the real problem. You know what? When there is a problem with rectum, then there is also a solution. Come on. And evacuation process is difficult, but there is enemas, so that one can purge out. There are some medicines for purgative purposes that is there. Or if one is not able to pass urine, there are surgical nozzles to accelerate urination. In this way, we are trying to do a kind of best bargain for the given worst condition of this old age. But we are losing or missing a very important point. That is that what how we should handle. Thus, in the old age, all the gates of the body are blocked by so many diseases, and one has to take help from so many medicines and surgical appliances. Right? Tasyam prapidyamanam abhimani puranjana avapur vidham tapan kutumbi mamata kula. Mamata is very nice. Here we can see that when the city was thus endangered by the soldiers of Kalakanya, King Puranjan, being overly absorbed in affection for his family, was placed in difficulty by attack of Yavanraj and Kalakanya. So this is what happens. No one wants old age. If someone wants, they would just say, hey, I don't want old age. If someone gives a choice, they say, I don't want disease. I only want to be in my prime of my youth forever. Just like Lord Krishna is, right? He's all youthful, though he has thousands of grandsons. Yeah, but he's so you. Yeah, shouldn't we be like that? Krishna is ever youthful, ever fresh. Should we also want to be like that? No, it's not possible. We are in a world. We are of a different nature, impacted by a different nature. We are covered or influenced by the mode of passion, ignorance, and uh, goodness, and due to which what is happening is we have a different conditioning. So when we refer to the body, we include the external gross body with its various limbs, as well as the mind, intelligence, and false ego. In old age, these all become weak when they are attacked by different diseases. The proprietor of the body, the living soul, becomes very sad at not being able to use the field of activities properly. Adi Shankaracharya, he says, what is it? Angam, Phalitam, sorry. Angam Phalitam, Jatam Tundam, Ruddhayapi Gruhtva Dandam, Tadapina Munchati Ashapindam. So he's saying, Angam Galitam, yeah, the body becomes quite fragile. Angam Galitam, Phalitam Mundam, Dashanavihinam Jatam Tundam. So what happens in the old age is that the body is becoming weak. The body becomes quite, soft. It's not, the muscles, yeah, whatever one may have desire or dream for a six pack or, proper quadriceps, biceps, all these things at old age, yeah, they start melting just like a candle wax. They are not as like a proper candle. So they become very soft. Angam Galitam, Phalitam Mundam, Dashanavihinam Jatam Tundam. What is happening is that uh, in the old age there is no more, yeah. Whatever the teeth which were helping us to bite and eat anything that came to in our way, those fall down. There are no more teeth. Yeah. Vruddho yabi gruhatva dandam. In the old age, one may not be able to walk steadily on his two legs, so he may need a dandam. He may need a stick. Vruddho yapi gruhatvadandam tadapina munchati ashapindam. In spite of that, the desires are so that the spirit of enjoying is not gone. The spirit, I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy. Tadapina munchati asha means the desire. Uh, so there are so many desires. What happens? Can we really lift 50 kgs when we are old? Come on, even at this age, to lift 50 kgs is quite a big thing. But what is happening? We have been carrying so many such heavy weights in the form of desires into our old age. The more we carry, the more become weaker, and then we can't hold on them. But still, there is always desire. We are thinking what happened in the past. We are thinking what will happen in the future, and that's why the life in that age becomes more difficult. This is what said by Adi Shankaracharya. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that the living entity is the proprietor of this body, Kshetrajna, and that the body is Kshetra. When the field is overgrown with thorns and weeds, it becomes very difficult for the owner to work it. That is the position of spirit soul when the body itself becomes a burden due to disease. Extra burdens are placed on the body in the form of anxiety and general deterioration of the bodily functions. So in old age, we see a lot of anxiety. That anxiety, I mean, later verses we can also see these anxieties come in different ways and how it will disturb the the soul. Kanyupagudho nashta stri krupano vishayatmakaha nashta pragno pritaishwaryo gandharva yavanayer balat. When King Puranjan was embraced by Kalakanya, he gradually lost all his beauty. Having been too much addicted to sex, he became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Being bereft of all possessions, he was conquered forcibly by the Gandharvas and Yavanas. There is no question. You can't say that, hey, how can I can see there are so many people around me, They are very good candidates for this torture. But what did I do? Why should I get into these problems? Hmm? When a person is attacked by invalidity of old age and is still addicted to sense gratification, he gradually loses all his personal beauty, intelligence, and good possessions. So we should be very, very careful. We should be very, very cautious how we lead our life. We don't want to get into the shoes of Puranjan at our old age. We don't want to be that we are controlled. We don't want to be that we are affected by this Prajvara, Kalakanya. But rather, when we take into Krishna consciousness, what is happening is that we are actually, yeah, these, this kingdom, the king and his soldiers won't touch us. He thus cannot resist the force of attack of the daughter of time. That is the condition of a living entity who is so much attached to enjoyment. Then King Puranjan then saw that everything in his town was scattered and that his sons, grandsons, servants, and ministers were all gradually opposing him. He also noted that his wife was becoming cold and indifferent. Isn't it so interesting? This is what happens to King Puranjan. He was seeing when he's getting old. As one gets old, then what happens? Every old person is thinking, oh, I have to take care of myself. I have to make sure that my dreams, my goals are important. So sometimes what happens is that here we see that the wife was becoming cold and indifferent. When one becomes an invalid and his senses and organs are weakened, in other words, they are no longer under one's control. The senses are not listening to us, not only the senses. When a person is in distressed condition, even his family members, his sons, grandsons, and wife becomes disrespectful. They no longer are under the command of the master of the house. Just as we wish to use our senses for sense gratification, the senses also require strength from the body in reciprocation. A man keeps a family for enjoyment, and similarly, family members demand enjoyment from the head of the family. Isn't it? Uh, it's not that, oh, okay, it is the soul has this body, wonderful, brilliant. The purpose is to enjoy. The senses also starts demanding, just like in a house, the children, grandsons, granddaughters, yeah, wife, brothers, everyone also expect some enjoyment from the master of the house. So one should understand that this form of life is not to be miserly lived. We are very, very carefully spending, very, very carefully spending in what? In devotional life, thinking that, oh, if I have money, I have to first enjoy. If something is left, then I'm going to give to the temple or I'm going to use it in my own devotional life. That then what we are prioritizing is we are prioritizing our own pleasures, and in that process what we are doing is we are postponing. That is what is called uh, kripana means miser, but rather everyone should go towards a brahmana. It is what is opposition, is in opposition to the word brahmana. In the human form of life, one should become a Brahman, which means that one should understand the constitutional position of the absolute truth, Brahman, and then engage in his service as a Vaishnava. We get this facility in the human form of life, but if we do not properly utilize this opportunity, we become a miserly, kripana, miser. A miser is one who gets money but does not spend it properly. This human form of life is especially meant for understanding Brahman, for becoming a Brahman. Atmanam kanyaya grastam panchalan aridushitan duranta chintam apanno na lebhe tad pratikriyam. When King Puranjan saw that all his family members, relatives, followers, servants, secretaries, and everyone else have turned against him, he certainly became very anxious. he was counting a lot on this, right? I have invested so much money so that I can see things properly. I have undergone so many surgeries so that this body can support me. No, when the time is coming, then all these things uh, will not help us. But he could not counterattack the situation because he was thoroughly overwhelmed by Kalakanya. In the old age, we may try so many. At some stage, the doctors will say, hey, his age will not cope up with what we want to do. The body is unfit for any more. So, in that way, when a person becomes weak from the attack of old age, the family members, servants, and secretaries do not care for him. He is then unable to counteract this. Thus, he becomes more and more anxious and laments his frightful condition. Kaman abhilashan dino yata yamanscha kanyaya vigatatma gati sneha putra dharam cha lalayan. And then what happens? The object of enjoyment became stale by the influence of Kalakanya. Due to the continuancy of his lusty desires, King Puranjan became very poor in everything. Thus, he did not understand the aim of life. This is the problem. He was still very affectionate towards his wife and children, and he worried about maintaining them. This is very important for us to understand. This is exactly the position of present civilization. Prabhupada writes in the purport. Everyone is engaged in maintaining the body, home, and family. Consequently, everyone becomes confused at the end of life, not knowing what spiritual life and the goal of human life is or are. In a civilization of sense gratification, there cannot be spiritual life because a person thinks only of this life. Although the next life is a fact, no information is given about it. Very, very few institutions, universities are actually spreading the right understanding of the spirit. Yeah. Otherwise, most of the universities are telling about how to advance materially, how to travel uh, from one world or sort of from one planet to the other planet. All these things are going on. Gandharva-Yavana-Krantam Kalakanya Marditam Hatum Prachakrame Raja Tam Purim Ani Kamataha. The city of King Puranjan was overcome by the Gandharvas and Yavanas. And although the king had no desire to leave the city, this is all we want. No one wants death, right? So no one wants old age and all these things. But he was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalakanya. So the living entity separated from the association of the Supreme Lord tries to enjoy this material world. He is given a chance to enjoy it in a particular type of body, beginning with the body of a Brahma down to that of the microbe. So we have to very carefully understand. I mean, I have not come across yet a verse where it is said that everyone by default will become Brahma. No, here this is clearly saying that based on our desire, we can or could be a Brahma, can become a Brahma. So from the Vedic history of creation, we can understand that the first living creature was Lord Brahma, who created the 7 great sages and other Prajapatis to increase the universal population. Yeah, so thus every living entity, according to karma, his past desires and activities gets a particular type of body, from that of a Brahma to that of a microbe or germ in stool. So depending on our desire, depending on past desires and activities, it's not just desire. It is also what is that qualifications that help one to attain a body. Accordingly, he will get. So even if one tries to separate a worm from a stool, the worm will be unwilling to leave. This is our natural situation, right? If someone is telling, hey, man, you are suffering, then he says, no, 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 I don't. No. Just like a pig. A pig finds itself very comfortable in what do you call filthy state, eating stool. But if one tries to separate it from its condition and give it a nice place, the hog will be unwilling. In this way, if we study each and every living entity, we will find that he will defy offers of more comfortable position. Hmm? Yeah, this is what sometimes when we go to preach and when we tell devotees, do you see that this dog is suffering? Would you like to become a dog? He says, why not? Yeah. For him, he doesn't understand. Uh, he thinks that dog life is nice. He thinks his life is nice. Rather, he would not go to higher. Always, when we say there is a comfortable, more stable, more permanent place, no, he says, no, I'm not interested. Hmm? Whatever his condition, does not want to give up the body, but he will be forced to give it up because, after all, this material body cannot exist forever. One may think that I want to continue. Hiranyakashipu wanted to live forever. There are so many Rakshasas who always do great penances. And after pleasing the Lord, they want first immortality. They want to live forever. That's not going to happen. The living entity wishes to enjoy the material world in different ways, and therefore, by nature's law, he is allowed to transmigrate from one body to another, exactly as a person transmigrates from the body of a infant to a child, to a boy, to youth, to a man. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram vyavanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na mohyati. Krishna is first of all telling, this is the first instruction. He's saying, hey, what are you doing? Dehi, you are talking about this um, soul which is conditioned, engrossed, embodied, yeah, embodied being. Yeah? This process is constantly going on. At last stage, when the gross body becomes old and invalid, the living entity is reluctant to give it up, despite the fact that there is no longer, it is no longer useful. Although material existence and the material body are not comfortable, why does the living entity not leave the world? Want to leave? It's an interesting question, right? On one side he's suffering, but still why he is not living? Because what is happening, as soon as one gets a material body, he has to work very hard to maintain it. He may engage in different fields of activity, but whatever the case, everyone has to work very hard to maintain. Unfortunately, the society has no information of the soul's transmigration. Why a jiva want to stay in this world? Because he doesn't know that there is a life after death. He doesn't accept that I am a soul. He doesn't accept that I, as a soul, am going to move on to a different body. Because the living entity does not hope to enter the spiritual kingdom of eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. He wants to stick to his present body, even though it may be useless. Consequently, the greatest welfare activity in this material world is the furthering of Krishna consciousness. This movement is giving human society information about kingdom of God. There is God, Krishna. There is Krishna, and everyone can return to God and live eternally in bliss and knowledge. A Krishna conscious person is not afraid of giving up the body because his position is always eternal. A Krishna conscious person engages in transcendental loving service of the Lord eternally. Therefore, as long as he lives within the body, he is happy to engage in the loving service of the Lord. And when he gives up the body, he is also permanently situated in the service of the Lord. As said, for Vaishnavas, for devotees, death is just change of service. So now we are in this service and then we move on to do some other service. The saintly devotees are always freed and liberated, whereas the karmis who have no knowledge of spiritual life or transcendental loving service to the Lord are very much afraid of giving up the rotten material world body. Bhaya namno agrajo bhrata prajvara pratyupastita tadahatam purim krishnam bhratu priya chikirsaya. Under the circumstances, the elder brother of Yavanraj, who is that? Prajvara, set fire to the city to please his younger brother, whose other name is fear, Bhaya itself. So there is word called Prajvara, or it's also called Vishnu Jwara. When one gets temperature of 107 degrees, then the person immediately dies. So the medical science verifies that when one's temperature is raised to 107, a man is immediately dies. So this is the reference. This Prajvara, Jwara means fever. Prajvara is not ordinary, very high fever. At the last stage of life, places the living entity in the midst of blazing fire. When the city was set ablaze, all the citizens and servants of the king, as well as all family members, sons, grandsons, wives, and other relatives, were within the fire. King Puranjan thus became very unhappy. This is what happens when the body is attacked by Vishnu Jwara. The fiery condition becomes so acute that sometimes one remains in a coma. This means that the body is in such severe pain that one becomes unconscious and cannot feel the miseries taking place within the body. Indeed, the living entity becomes so helpless at the time of death that although unwilling, he is forced to give up the body and enter another. So Bhagavad Gita it is stated that man may, by scientific advancement, improve the temporary living condition, but that he cannot avoid the pangs of birth, old age, disease, and death. A foolish person cannot understand this simple fact. Now, people are very busy trying to find petroleum in the midst of the ocean. They are very anxious to make provisions for future petroleum supply, but they do not make any attempts to ameliorate the conditions of birth, old age, disease, and death. Thus, a person in ignorance, not knowing anything about his future, his own future life, is certainly defeated in all his activities. And then comes the city's superintendent of police. Who is that? This body is maintained by what? The air, prana, pana, vyana, udana, and samana. These are the airs. If we see from Ayurveda, like here it's compared like a serpent. Saw that the citizens were being attacked by Kalakanya, and he became very aggrieved to see his own residence set ablaze. So this living vital force is also getting scared, the condition of the body. At death, we can see that the gross body is finished, but actually the living entity is carried by the subtle body. This is for the details. As the life air was ready to leave the gross body, subtle body also began to experience pain. Nasekeso viritum tatra puru ruchoru vepatuhu gantu aichat tato vriksha kotarad iva sanalat. So, as a serpent living within a cavity of a tree wishes to leave when there is a forest fire, so the city's police superintendent, the air, wished to leave the city due to fire, severe heat. The limbs of the serpent, because there are no, the limbs of the serpent's body were slackened by the Gandharvas and Yavana soldiers who had thoroughly defeated his bodily strength. When he attempted to leave the body, he was checked by his enemies. Being thus baffled in his attempt, he began to cry loudly. So this is what people struggle to breathe, especially when they are going to leave the body. That's why King Kulashekara in Mukundamala is right. He says, Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adjaiva me Vishatu Manasa Raja Hamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavata Pittai and then Kantavarodha Vidhau Smaranam Kutaste. How can I remember the Lord, especially in the old age, where the old age means my my final breath when my throat is choked up? How will it be possible for me to think of you? So King Kulashekara is praying to Krishna, my dear Krishna, please help me die immediately so that the swan, what Rajahamsa it is? Manasa Rajahamsa. So the swan of my mind may be encircled by the stem of your lotus feet. So a swan, when it is in the waters where there are all lotus flowers, there are these lotus stems. These lotus stems get encircled around the neck. I think proper. The swan takes great pleasure in diving within the water and being encircled by the stem of the lotus flower. This entanglement is sporting joy. If in our healthy condition we think of lotus flower, lotus feet of the Lord and die, it is most fortunate. In old age, at the time of death, the throat sometimes becomes choked with mucus or blocked by air. At that, at such a time, the sound vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra may not come out. Thus, one may forget Krishna. So, of course, Those who are strong in Krishna consciousness cannot possibly forget Krishna at any stage because they are accustomed to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, especially when there is a signal from death. This means a devotee is ever alert. He is always taking the support of the chanting of the holy name, always remembers the lotus feet of the Lord. By chanting, always he is ensuring that at the time when the time may come, that automatically I am able to take the name of the Lord and attain the ultimate goal of life. Hmm? King Puranjan then began to think of his daughters, sons, grandsons, daughter-in-laws, son-in-laws, servants and other associates, as well as his house, his household paraphernalia, and his little accumulation of wealth. He's thinking all these things. And Prabhupada writes, this is called the struggle of existence. Thinking all of them is struggle of existence. It is not infrequent for a person overly attached to material body to request a physician. He is going, right? One who is attached to enjoyment of this life, he makes all arrangement. He will spend money to have a physician to make sure that his health is is fine. Huh? If the so-called scientific physician is able to prolong one's life for a few minutes through the use of oxygen or other medicines, he thinks that he is very successful in his attempts. Although ultimately the patient will die, right? So the doctor is helping out for a while. That doesn't ensure that he is going to live forever in a very good health. So अहम ममेति स्वीकृत्य गृहेषु कुमतिर् गृही कुमतिर means whose mind is full of obnoxious thoughts. Mati means mind, kumati means bad, evil mind. So King Puranjan was overly attached to his family, and what is it? Mameti, mama and iti means the conception of I and mine. Because he was overly attracted to his wife, he was already quite poverty stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sorry. So Prabhupada writes in this verse, translation, it is clear in this verse that at the time of death, thought of material enjoyment do not go away. This indicates that the living entity, the soul, is carried by the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. Due to false ego, the living entity still wants to enjoy the material world, and for want of material enjoyment, he becomes sorry or sad. He still makes intellectual plans to further his existence, and therefore, although he gives up the gross body, he is carried by the subtle body to another gross body. Anyway, that is further. Thus, the gross body can be compared to the wife, for the wife is the agent of all kinds of sense gratification. Because of long association with the gross body, the living entity becomes very sad to be separated from it. The mental activity of living entity obliges him to accept another gross body and continue his material existence. The Sanskrit word stri means expansion. Through the wife, one expands his various objects of attraction like sons, daughters, grandsons, and so on. Attachment to family members becomes very prominent at the time of death. One often sees that just before leaving his body, a man may call his beloved son to give him charge of his wife and other paraphernalia. He may say, "My dear boy, I am being forced to leave. Please take charge of this family affairs." He speaks in this way, not even knowing his destination. So a person is so much anxious to sort out things of this life, and he is not thinking about his own goal and work on it. Okay, we reached, I think, Suritesh Prabhu, you read 17 verses, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we have covered that. If someone have any points that you found interesting or you want to share something on top, or if you have any questions, yeah, you can speak.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Nothing.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for I have so many insights in me. And
Mhm.
I just would like to ask Prajvara, is it a real person? Is it like also allegorically said
Yeah,
that he's the older brother
yeah,
of
yeah,
Yamaraj?
yeah. So Prajvara is nothing but disease. He's representing disease, a special kind of disease when one is going to leave the world at the end of last stage of life. Usually there is this uh, here it is said Prajvara is also called Vishnu Jvara. This is the time where one might have this 107 degrees temperature, which is clinically said that a person would die immediately. So all these characters, where we are telling about Kalakanya, all these names are on one side telling about there is a kingdom, there is a whole kingdom with a lot of soldiers, and these soldiers attack, uh, home country. So which means we are comfortable with whatever we have and all these things, right? So we have our entourage, we have wife, husband, children, grandparents, grandchildren. So all these things is one kingdom. Yeah. Sometimes we may see these Hollywood movies, right, where a person is going, I think, what are these called? Alien. And there is an attack, there is a fight between two different um, worlds, yeah. And hero will emerge victorious. So this is a nice story. So Narad Muni also, he has spoken this allegorical story to, looks little fictitious, but not baseless. Yeah, so it's not like, okay, after watching such a Hollywood movie, we would just think, wow, such a wonderful creation, but is there something to take? Yeah, nothing. But Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, where Narada Muni is telling, he is precisely telling actually the story of King Puranjan is King Prachina Parishat. Yes, not only King Prachina Parishat, he's telling the story of our own self. Hmm? And how others will attack. What is the agent? Uh, it is that we can't see. This is very amazing, right? We can't see the enemy. Very dangerous. Yeah. If, for example, there is a war between Ukraine and Russia or Israel and so many things, we can see here there are soldiers who are coming, they're fighting. We can't see our enemy. That is our problem. The enemies are in the form of bhaya, anxiety. Bhaya is fear, and there is also anxiety. There is also this, yeah, ruthlessness. They don't compromise because we didn't make best of our life. Let me give more chance. No, yeah, very strong, serious business. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's Suritej Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It was an eye opener actually. Yeah, a thought came into my mind. You were talking about this young serpent, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what I've observed is most of us, or most of the people around me, up until now, come to this realization only after this phase has passed in
Serpent
their life.
becomes old. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
then, first thought that comes into our mind is we fear what will happen. Uh, we don't get the time that has
Mhm.
passed. So instead of that fear or repentance, what can be done from there on?
Mhm.
Maybe
I
can be
think
better.
last week we were talking about fear, right? I don't know in what context, but we were talking about fear. Is it a good fear or a bad fear? To fear is nice. Otherwise, we would just be very, very casual in our dealings with our goal. We will always postpone it. When we are not fearful, we may always say, hey, there is a lot of time. Come on. Uh, I have went to my astrologer. He said I have a lifespan of 80 years or 90 years or even more. I don't know. Which means, hey, why don't I first enjoy now, maybe till 50 years? And yeah, I know I have to take up to religious process. I'll take to it. But yeah, there is also time. When I can't do anything, the best thing I can do is remember the Lord, right? Hmm. So when we don't have the sense of fear in us, we may just take it so easy that, hey, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I have plans, I have a perfect plan. but we don't know that perfect plan can be simply screwed up by, we have this Kalakanya, Chanda Vega. So all these things, we don't see them, right? In our plan, we don't see them. They will come and disturb our plans. But when we know that they will disturb our plan, then we will be more serious, because yes, things are not always in my control. Things are in control of so many other agents of the Lord. So rather, I would just think, oh, this reminds me the example of, usually I give this, right? In Simhachalam, there was this Shantrab Gaurang Prabhu. He asked Kadam Karan Maharaj, yeah, when I'm in Bangladesh, I have always remembered Narasimha prayers. I have read many times, because it's quite scary to cross the road. It's quite scary to do that. It's scary. There are so many dangers in, when I'm living as a student in Bangladesh. Now I'm coming Germany. I'm not so regular in praying to Nrsingadev for protection. Why? Then Maharaj said that there are so many things you are not able to see. Hmm. Uh, there is so much, in the Western world. It doesn't mean that, oh, there is no complete safe and secure. Otherwise, why are there temples? We can understand in the in the Western world also, yeah. But only thing is, we are not able to see them. Yeah. Or we have not yet got the vision to see what are these problems. Maharaj simply said, yeah, there is also so much gross enjoyment. When there is so much gross enjoyment, so much facilities to enjoy, that isn't that big disturbance. Hmm?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Yeah. So now coming back, how to do that? So yeah. Mm, it is a very tricky situation. Yeah, people who realize they may be very, very active, but when one does not understand, appreciate the condition of life, yeah, yeah. So we can only pray for them that, okay, one day they also can understand that the world where we are living is not the best place. And when they are in the old age, then they start fearing, and then what we can only do is we can try to preach to youth. At least let's see, focus that the youth doesn't become old and they are already in the situation where it's already out of hands. Yeah. So it's very important that right from good age, we are taking it very serious. In the youth, we may think that I can mitigate so many problems of my life. Yeah. But we see so many examples around us, even in our own life, we didn't manage to mitigate. But we think that that is the only way. That's why we are doing it. But there is very smart and easy way to mitigate problems of our life, whatever age it is by becoming Krishna conscious. By practicing bhakti, one can mitigate all these problems. How do we know that? Yes, we have to get this knowledge. What is that knowledge? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Through the strength of Bhagavatam, through the strength of, one may introspect one's life and understand that, oh, am I really satisfied with what I'm getting? What am I doing? Then if one really introspects, he's thinking, no, I've tried that, something happened. I tried this, something happened. I tried that, okay, there is some success, but why am I failing? So all these things come when we have Atata Brahma Jigyasa, when we want to understand why. Yeah. I think even in corporate world, there is this, what do you call, a technique used, right? If someone is asking, hey, let's do this, then there is five whys. One is asking why, and then finally, if really want to do it, the fifth why is yes, then one does it. So this why question is very important. And usually we don't have so much time to listen to the answers for why. That's why we just say, okay, that's not so important for now. Mm. Yeah. So what we can do, to your question is, yeah, we can just try to tell, and if a person is still not interested in that, we can give some prasadam, and prasadam also has, yeah, it doesn't see who is of what caste, or it doesn't see, oh, he is he eligible or not. No, mercy of the Lord in the form of prasadam, yeah, can go to anyone, even to, yeah, animals. So there are different levels through which we can see how we can induce the seriousness or urgency or the mercy of the Lord, so that then they slowly pick it up. If they don't have the interest to gain the knowledge, yeah, but we can pray for them so that, okay, the Lord is seeing, okay, oh, this guy has prayed for that person, so let me help from within. So it's just like an operation, yeah. So one is doing it from the outside, and the Lord is doing from the inside. Yeah, Suritesh Prabhu.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. I was more talking about myself only, but that was an observation what I've told. But yeah,
Mhm.
Prabhuji, thank you. I got your point.
You
Thank you.
know, as I said, when we do self-retrospection, right, introspecting, then we understand, oh, there is a fear. And as I said, the fear is good. So if you have the fear, it is good. If I have the fear, that is good. I think Sanoj Prabhu asked us, oh, this fear, right? Sanoj Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So now you are convinced the fear helps.
No. Sure, Prabhuji.
hmm
But Prabhuji,
Okay.
I have a question. But sometimes when the fear is high, we do everything perfectly.
Yep. We can't hear you. Well, maybe.
But
Okay.
now it's
Still
fine, Prabhuji.
struggling. Maybe you can try again.
Yes, Prabhuji, now.
Yeah, now better.
Yes, Prabhuji. I was saying, Prabhuji, that when we have fear now, or when we read something, then we do it perfectly, on a highest stage, I can say. We do it, but when day by day the knowledge goes it got blurred, and when the days pass, then we do it like, yeah, let it be, then it goes away,
Yeah.
slipping from our hands. So how can we do like that fear, that the first day is there always being on, always be with us, the good fear.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So, how to maintain that fear, right? I think that's the question. How to maintain the fear. Yeah. The fear when we are reading Bhagavatam, when we are in touch with Bhagavatam, when we are hearing to characters, we come across, yeah, if you see Mahabharata, we see Ramayana, we come across some nice characters who are called, who are, who give us counter lessons, yeah, like how we should not be. Yeah. For example, Dhritarashtra, yeah, when Bhimsen came after everything is done, he wanted to smash him into pieces. Oh, this is very bad. Oh, we should. Oh, this if I have this quality, I'm going to ruin my own future. That fear is needed. So the more and more we keep hearing ourselves absorbed in this katha, right, Bhagavad Katha, uh, then we see, okay, it's quite dangerous to be having these qualities. So let me. I know the when I know the result of it, I'll be more fearful, right? Yeah, tomorrow's session also is about fault finding is one thing also. But in general, when we know the effect consequences, then we have fear. So we have to keep reminding ourselves the consequence of what we are doing. Yeah. So a person who is very, very composed, dhira, he is not just distracted with, oh, I want to have pleasure, I want to have pleasure. No, he is very stable. He knows that all these are to be tolerated. Hmm? So in that way, what we do is we kind of regularly remind ourselves what is the consequence, what is the consequence, what is the consequence. Every action when we are doing, we are carefully, we are not doing just on our instincts or just on our desire, but we are seeing what is the consequence. Then immediately the fear of committing mistake will catch us, that we are little more careful in dealing. Yeah. I don't know. Did it answer your help out?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mhm. Okay.
I got that the right answer. Even contemplating on that is point and on which other things.
Again, can't hear you. Sorry. I think you are somewhere outside.
I will guess I also
Okay.
help me to elevate myself.
Maybe you figure out the network connection. Meanwhile, maybe someone else, if they have a question, I'll take that. Yeah. Any other questions meanwhile?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Jai Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, on this topic of fear only, I was just wondering, just when we, you please correct me because I think my thoughts are not so very much aligned for that.
Okay.
So I was just thinking, Prabhuji, that okay, we may begin with fear, but moving ahead in our Bhakti Jivan, we should always be constantly reminded of that fear of losing out, or it shall be a conviction of doing the right things.
I'm not sure if I understood right, so maybe can you rephrase it, please?
Yes. No, Prabhuji, as we were all talking, right, that this fear is necessary, the positive side of the fear, not the negative fear,
Okay.
to go on and to be on the track of our path of bhakti, because otherwise we'll forget the urgency of
We will not be alert.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, Prabhuji, that when we start, okay, we need to know the causes of start our bhakti jivan. We need to know the cause, and then we get fearful and we remind ourselves. But as we learn and we progress in our bhakti jivan, doesn't one get a conviction? No, this is the right thing to do. Do we do things because it's the right thing to do, or we do it out of fear?
Okay. So the fear should help us avoid mistakes. Yeah. So I think you are trying to ask whether shouldn't we confidently engage in our service rather than being
Correct,
fearful.
Prabhuji. Yes. Being in that fearful state, rather than that, when one is convinced that okay, this is the thing, then with that
Yes.
conviction.
Yeah. So we should be confident. We should dhairya, nishayat, utsaha. So these are the qualities. There is determination is also there, and also one should be confidently doing service rather than fearing, oh, am I doing right? Am I doing right? Am I doing right? So the consciousness is more about avoiding. But after you know the art, just like cycle, when you're riding a bicycle, are you going to drive out of fear? Once you are confident, you are enjoying the service, right? Or you're enjoying the. Give me 1 second. I might go offline for a second. Sorry, my battery was laptop was going down. So there is this, after you know how to do it, so you're not having the fear of doing it, but you should still have this consciousness, am I doing any mistake? But after you have mastered it, so the purpose is having fear is so that we master it. But then we should always have back of our mind to introspect whether I have done correctly or not. Otherwise, we may think that, oh, I have done it. Brilliant. I have done many times. Brilliant. Yeah. Many times we don't realize that we have done messed it up because we are overconfident ourselves that, hey, I'm going to do best. Like no one could have done it. So a sense of reflecting how we did also helps us. Though we have mastered it, though we know how to do it, we should still be careful because the more we introspect, we'll find so many faults that we would have done, mistakes that we would have done unknowingly. And again, that helps us. Yeah, that fear helps, right? If there is no such fear, we will always think that I have done brilliantly. With the fear, then I will introspect. I will check. And then, yeah, no one is perfect, right? So we know, okay, no one is perfect. But when we have this, oh yes, I will at least have the feeling that, hey, there is something that I could improve. I would have done it. I will do it with more care. So the fear should help us to be more careful in our service, isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we can't remove that fear aspect because we are, after all, we want to be, we want to avoid offenses, we want to avoid mistakes, we want to avoid all these things so that our service, what we are doing, is as best as possible that I can do. That can be possible only when we are alert, when we are having this sense of, yeah, maybe positivity out of that fear.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives a better perspective of the placement of fear and this conviction, confidence in this path.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe what I understood, Prabhuji, is that we have to be confident in moving ahead in our path. But yes, the sense of self introspection should be there. Otherwise, we might lack the progress.
Yeah.
We might not
And for that
progress.
introspection, fear will help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear of committing mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Prabhuji. Yeah, and I have one more question, Prabhuji, if you can. Prabhuji, we were
please.
discussing in the chapter through that how man keep on building the life and just try to secure himself or herself from all the corners using all his finances and protection for the life and everything. But Prabhuji, like we as a devotee also sometimes definitely to protect our life, we also visit the doctor or or so to say to maintain our life. So yeah, I understand that we want to do it because we can do better service and make better use of our lifetime and our
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
But still, Prabhuji, if you can say something more on this, that
Yeah.
which helps that okay, at least if as a devotee, if we are taking on these paths, then yeah, we are more confident that why we are taking the helps, external helps. Mm.
Yeah. So if your question is, should we really take shelter of these facilities, right? Yeah, definitely, because as long as it is ethical and it is going to help us give opportunity to serve, then we take it to that process. Yeah, sometimes people may have a debate: is organ spender, yeah, what is it called, donating organs, is it approved, is that in the scriptures or not, is blood donation valid or not, its transplants are okay or not in Krishna consciousness. So these are some nice debatable questions, right? Because we always have new problems. We have created so many problems. So how do we see from the wisdom, from the light of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? We can see that a human form is very, very rare. Human life is very rare. The purpose is to advance, to progress in spiritual life and to reach the ultimate goal of life, going back to Godhead, or always engaging in the service of the Lord. So this is the best, best bargain. What we can do is, to mitigate these challenges so that we can engage in the service of the Lord. Hmm? Uh, we there is always this question. Yeah, so for example, in the case of Kadam Kanan Maharaj, shouldn't he have taken treatment? Shouldn't he have taken treatment? Yeah, he could have tried, he could have taken a chance, he could have tried, visiting hospital. After all, human form is very, very rare, and then human form of life should be used for advancing in spirituality, etc., etc. Shouldn't he have also done? Why did he give up? Hmm? The question will always be to understand. Yeah, this is very perspective in the sense, how has one used his life. And in case of great saintly people, they know that they are in the hands of the Lord. Yeah, if the death would like to take them, yeah, Srila Prabhupada also, yeah, yesterday we were reading Prabhupada Leelamrit, right? In the Prabhupada Leelamrit, who was there? Madhuri Mataji, you remember? Yeah, Prabhupada was not interested in homeopathy, not interested in allopathy, not interested in Kaviraj Ayurveda. Yeah, yeah. Of course, whatever, if it was simple, easy, he was taking to that. Otherwise, he was mainly focused in spreading, in serving the Lord. Because for them, death is a kind of a change of service. And now we can't just apply that and say, hey, when those great personalities have done, let me also do that, which means let me not take care of ourselves. No, our position is at different level. Our position is that we want to make best of this life. I don't have great hope on myself. What will be my next life? So, whatever I can do, I can advance. Let me try to do it now. Okay, for that, yeah. If there is someone who guarantees me a better life, let me do it. But Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, we should not over endeavor for material advancement. It is not that, oh, if someone is saying that if you get a 5-star hotel, then you can do Krishna consciousness very nicely. Then we have to be careful. Yeah. You see the difference? I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So we are not behind the cosmetic surgeries, so that my facelift will happen properly. We are not behind all other things. Yeah. We are not looking into very sophisticated life uh, just to live long. Yeah, this morning I was thinking, yeah, ISKCON, we know there is a project called Food for Life, right? But it shouldn't be like food is life. So it's not that, okay, just I'm living only so that I can eat. So in that way, a devotee is very carefully seeing how can he benefit whatever is around him. For example, we can see Jayapatak Maharaj undergoing, yeah, he underwent liver transplant, he underwent kidney transplant, yeah. Still, yeah, he is a tremendous inspiration in ISKCON, so that he is guiding so many souls back to Godhead. So we can see the spirit. The spirit is service, whether in this body or the other body. If this body is at least guaranteed that you can do it, let's see. Yeah, we can make most of it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any last question, or we can close the session? I think it's already, yeah, long a bit. Okay. Then thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथ श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। हिताय गौर प्रेमानंद। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण।